Hello and welcome to Love Didn't Hurt You. Someone who doesn't know how to love actually did. And this became a topic and came up for me because I get so many women that come to me and they're like, I am done with love. That's what I hear them say.
Mhm.
They say it to me. I know they say it to you, Marcy.
That's right.
I am done with love because I got hurt. Love hurt me. And I get it. I get it. It's painful. You got hurt. You went through a bad experience. And it's important to remember that love didn't hurt you, right? Love is what heals you. Love doesn't hurt, it only heals. And so I wanted to talk about that today. I brought in my great friend and mentor, Marcy Newman. She's here. She's a spiritual expert and she's great at healing people, helping people get into their hearts and connect with the things that actually matter. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for being here, Marcy. Do you have any words of wisdom that you want to throw out there before we get started?
I always do. But the most important thing for everyone as you come into this space today, because as Matt said, almost everyone has experienced this kind of pain. And it's literally been wreaking havoc in your lives. So just take a moment before we begin. Close your eyes, even. Take a breath and breathe it directly into your heart as if you were giving it a gift, because that's what this time with Matt and I really is. It is a gift for you, for your heart, and of course, for the life that you want to create. So, yeah, let's dive in, Matt.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, so this idea about love and getting hurt, like when I think about it and I talk to people about like what's going on with them, it what happens is you create an association. And this is very important to understand and get because if you create this association and you don't know that you're creating this association, it can it can create all kinds of other problems in your life, right? And so the association is that you kind of lump things together. You bring things together, right? You go and you date a few guys and they they don't treat you well, they ignore you, they ghost you, whatever happens, right? And it's very easy to start looking at men and start pointing to them and going, you know it's men are the problem. And I just want to stay away from men, right? And so we do it with relationships, we do it with love, we do it with all kinds of things. And most of us have been there, right? I've been there. My brother is there right now. I like to talk about my brother around this. He's like he gave up on dating, like, I don't know how many years ago it's been at this point, maybe 7 years, maybe six, something like that, right? He gave up on dating altogether. He broke up with his girlfriend at the time, and he has sworn off women. Women will come and attack him, in a happy way, right? Where they're like, hey, like we should, they like start coming up, right? It's like the whole like, I get close to him, get really, like near him, and then be like, hey, I'm a woman, right? And he's just like, oh, right? And so like he tries to like keep women as far away as he possibly can because he's been hurt by it, right? And he was I got married last year and he was here. Actually, Marcy was here too,
Mhm.
which was really cool. But he was here and we were sitting on my couch and we were talking about the idea of him possibly dating again, right? And he got so triggered just by the idea, because he was like, no, I'll never date again, right? And I'm like, yeah, but what if you did? What if you like actually, talk to you found somebody you like and you let him in? He was so angry. I mean, he like lost his mind. He was like, oh, letting somebody in. I'd never do that. I told you I wouldn't do it. And I was just like, whoa, like it was the amount of emotion that he has built up around it and the amount of anger and frustration, right? Um, because he feels like this area isn't, it's not something that he can deal with. It's not something that he knows how to uh, have any power or control over, right? And so his reaction is anger. His reaction is frustration. His reaction is hopelessness, right? And it's so when that happens, it's natural a lot of times to go into that, right? But being in that space, it doesn't help him, right? It doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help the people around him. It doesn't get him what he really wants, right? Because all these people that are giving up on dating right now, right? And it's a lot of people out there, men and women, lots of them are giving up on dating. And I was talking to a friend of mine who's his name's Brody Boyd, right? And he's a dating relationship person as well. And we were talking about it, and I was like, "Hey, man, these women," because he was like talking about all these women that are giving up, and they go into this, and I'm like, it's not that they don't want to date. It's not that they don't want a relationship. It's not that they don't want love. It's just that they've been hurt so badly in the past, so many times, that they feel that it's not possible for them, right? And so the natural reaction is to take power away from it by saying, well, I don't even want it anyway, right? And it feels good in that moment, like, oh, I took this away, because if I do want it and I'm not capable of having it, maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe I'm broken. Maybe it's not meant to be for me, right? And when you go into that place, it can be really, really painful. And so it's easier to just say, hey, I don't really want dating anyway. I don't want men. I don't want relationships. It's so much easier, so much better, right? Does that make sense? What I'm talking
Yeah,
about, making sense?
and as you were speaking, I had a lot of things coming, up that I want to share with our audience. Well, one of them is, anybody who's here with Matt and I right now, it's because you actually want something more in your life. You want a higher level of awareness and ability to live and navigate to create what it is that you want. If that wasn't true about you, you wouldn't be here. None of this would appeal to you. So, the first thing that I want to say to you is that anytime that you are either rejecting or withholding love, you are so out of alignment with love that it can't possibly come into your life to show you what it's really all about. So there are some things about your experiences that you just have to accept. And that is number one, it's right in the title of our show, of our theme today. Love didn't hurt you. Someone who doesn't know how to love or who has an unwillingness to love did the hurting. So that alone has to be the place where you start. And it has to be something that you remind yourself of, because the ego will always, come in looking for every single crack that it can possibly infiltrate in order to keep you right where you are. So if you've been connecting with Matt and I, you know that we talk about the ego as an energy that thinks that it is protecting you by preventing you from being out in the world, where it believes that you will be hurt again. So
Mhm.
when you take on that belief, you're actually taking on the belief of the ego. And what I want you to understand is that the ego has no understanding about love. It's so far removed from an energy vibration or frequency. The two of them don't exist in the same world. And that's true. You can't have both in your consciousness at the same time, which means that, guess what? If you want something different, you have to choose something different. But what happens, especially when you're rejecting or withholding love, and in a lot of ways, they're almost the same mechanism. What you're doing is your entire energy field which is how you attract things to you, is in a contracted state. Now, in order for you to experience the expansiveness of love that's going to embrace you and give you an opportunity to embrace another person, it has to expand in order to do it. It can't do it from a contracted space. That contracted space actually creates a wall. And if you have maintained that for a long time, what happens, and Matt's brother is such a perfect example of this, and I hope that he doesn't mind that we talk about him, but that wall is exactly, what we have evidence of. But it also becomes the program that Matt was talking about. So much so that it impacts the lens that you look through. So when you're out in the world, all you're looking for is evidence to feed that belief of the ego. And what do? You don't stop until you find it. So if you do connect with somebody, the experience can only be where you're going to be hurt again. You're collecting evidence, right? You have to feed that ego. The ego has this insatiable appetite and it needs to be fed all the time. It's why it's constantly jabbering in your ear or distracting you from your own truth. Mm-hmm. In order for you to step outside of that energy, number one, you have to love yourself enough to do it. This really is an aspect of self-love that we rarely speak about. Self-love is all about making the choices that are based not on your past experiences, but based on what it is that you want to create, based on what you want for your future, and based on where you really want to live the best life ever. We're not meant to be alone. We're meant to be in partnership. We're meant to be in relationships, but those relationships, yes, often challenge us to grow and expand. And so when we can go into it with that knowingness and love ourselves enough to want to experience that so that we can know ourselves more and experience all that love has to offer, then we start to create worlds that we can't even imagine in this moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's really powerful, Marcy. If you're watching us right now and you get what we're talking about, go ahead and say I get it in the chat. Let us know that you're here. If you have any questions about your situation or something that's going on with you, feel free to put those questions into the chat. We are happy to take some questions here in a little bit. And so, yeah, we've got a lot of different people here saying amen. Hello, you are right. That's so true. Mary says, when you love on others, it's freeing. It was a problem for my ex out of jealousy. I'm sad for him that he hasn't learned. Tony says, wow, that actually makes sense. Rachel says, sometimes comfort food helps with a lot of the healing. Try it. Yeah, I mean, comfort food, it can give you short-term satisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
Like we all have different things that we move towards for comfort, right? And so if we're talking about like, how do we manage this, right? In psychology they call it soothing, right? Self-soothing. It's like you've got a pain and you're like, you're like rubbing it in order to like calm yourself down and feel better about it. And there's a lot of different ways that we might do it. Rachel was talking about the whole comfort food thing, which is normal and happens. There are better ways to kind of seek comfort though, right? Like comfort is security, right? Comfort is a place that feels good to you, right? Comfort is moving to something. Eating those foods actually hits more than just comfort, though. It actually hits part of your emotions that look for excitement as well, because you're shifting something, you're changing your mood. And a lot of times we're in this state where we're like anxious and whatever, and so we're trying to change how we're feeling in that moment, and we're looking for anything that can do it. And one of the fastest ways is through chemicals, right? Which is comfort food, right? You get some sugar, you get some fat, you get some things in you, and your body shifts and changes, and your mood changes with that, right? There are other more productive ways that you can do that as well, right? You can just do it from deep breathing, just spending some time and just breathing deeply, letting go. You can do it from dancing. You can do it from, shouting or screaming into the air. Right? There's actually, I don't know if you guys have seen. I don't know if you've seen this, Marcy, before, but there's like these workshops you can go to where they like take people out and they're like beating on cushions, or they go outside and they're like hitting sticks against trees or hitting it against the ground or whatever, right? There's like a whole bunch of things, and what it does is it's like a release. You're shifting emotions, you're releasing things, and then you're creating a space where you can go into, right? And um what, I'm not going to tell you don't do comfort food unless it is actually a problem for you, and then you might want to find something that's different for you. But really what we're trying to get to here is a place where you're calm, and you're a place where you're comfortable, right? A place where you feel secure within yourself, right? A place where you don't feel like you need to shift your emotions because you're anxious or whatever's going on with you. And that's the ideal state for you to naturally be in, right? And that's what you want to get to ultimately here. And there's external ways of doing it, like superficial ways of doing it, which is like eating sugary foods or whatever, or even like some of the visualizations and stuff that we talk about, like that can be a superficial way of doing it, but ultimately what you want to do is make that like your go-to place, that your home, right? Your emotional home, the place that you go to over and over and over again. Science has found that we only have a certain number of emotions that we go through on a daily basis, right? For some people, it's anxious and frustrated and angry and all these kinds of things. And for other people, it's calm and relaxed, or excited and motivated, hopeful. For some people it's pessimistic. I don't know if you guys know people like this, but I know some people who are pessimistic all the time, right? The world is always coming to an end, right? There's always something that will justify it, right? And there's big events that'll justify it too. Like back in 2000s, we had Y2K, right? It was, yeah, I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember Y2K, but that was supposed to like destroy everything, right? We were going to go back to grounds, back to the cavemen. We were supposed to start going and living in caves after that, right? And be like having, like wooden mallets, and, like going outside and hunting, because everything was going to crash, right? And then there was another one that came. It was like uh, the Mayan calendar, right? The Mayan calendar was supposed to stop at a certain point, and everything was going to go into chaos. Right now, it's AI, right? Like a lot of people are like, "Oh, AI is coming, and we're all going to die," right? And that's just it's what I mean. If you're a pessimistic person, you will always find a reason, like what Marcy was talking about, where you go out and you start seeking these beliefs, you start seeking these mindsets that you have. You're seeking evidence that it's true, right? And so if you're a pessimistic person, if you are waiting for everything to fall apart, you're going to find evidence that everything's going to fall apart, right? It's true,
It's
and you'll see it
absolutely
every.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're the opposite, right? If you're like a person who's excited about life and motivated and hopeful, you'll find reasons to be hopeful and motivated and exciting, right? AI for some people it's a extinction event, right? Everybody's like, "Oh, they're the robots, Terminator 2 is coming. They're going to come at us," right? And then for other people, it's like they're like, wow, it's amazing, this innovation. There's all these things. We're going to be able to free up all this, basically slave labor that's out there, and use robots to, do all these things. And so for that one thing, right, depending on how you look at it, depends on how you see it, right? And I know, and we're probably going to get a whole bunch of comments that are like, AI is going to ruin everything, right, in the comments. It's fun. I was like going through YouTube a couple days ago, and I found this post about AI. Somebody posted something about AI interventions. It was like a marketing post or something, and like the comments, there was like thousands of comments, and I mean, it was just all these people that were hating on AI. It was it was wild, like a lot of people out there are really angry about it.
But it's all the more reason that we really understand what's going on and stop making up stories about why you can't love.
Mm-hmm.
Because number one, if AI is so much in the forefront of everything, AI can't love you. And you can't love AI because there's no place for your love to land. Remember, and again, go back to the other recordings that Matt and I have made. You are the energy of love, and that love is what is created through you. Everything that you experience in your world is something that you've created. And so, depending on how much love you've used for that creation, is really the experience that will come back to you. It's You start to notice when you have been rejecting or withholding love, how what comes back to you is just perhaps a few crumbs of love. And so you start to notice that the more that you can let go of whatever is holding you back and stop feeding that old story, that you actually can find that your love now can move freely. As love itself, our need is to love, which means that the onus is on us to find a place where our love can land, a place where you're going to be cherished and nurtured and respected and honored, and a place where that love has a place to grow and expand, because that is the nature of love. Love is not meant to be kept in a box, in a container. It is free flowing. And so your job then is to, actually your responsibility, maybe even your obligation, we could say, is to find a place where your love can land, where it will experience all of those things, and then will be a place where you are always safe, where you are always protected, and where you never, ever have to question love again. I mean, isn't that amazing just to think about? Imagine never having to question love again. And it all starts within you. It all starts within you being willing to take that step, to cultivate the courage that it takes to love yourself enough to want your dreams to come true. Because I can ask anybody, and I have. I've been privileged to work with thousands of people around the world. And anyone who has ever said to me, I don't ever want to love again, I am never putting myself in that position again. When it comes right down to it, when the walls start to come down and the tears start to flow, which is an important part of it, when we let go of whatever has been holding us back from our own true nature, which is to love, guess what? You're now open to receive love. And now you're open to be in a true partnership. You're talking true love. And every single person said yes to that. It's only these distortions of love that you're saying no to. But, the universe doesn't differentiate between yes and no. It just receives everything that you're putting out and it interprets it as you wanting more of it. So if you're saying, no, 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 I don't want that, and you're saying that a zillion times a day, the universe says, wow, she's really into that. I'm going to go around and collect as much of that and give it back to her as possible. So it interprets everything with a yes. Yes, I'll answer that. Yes, I'll get you more than of that. Yes, I'll give you experiences so you can bring more of that into your world. And that's why when you're living in the old stories, in the distortions about love, that's why you keep getting more and more and more of it. You're not being punished. It's not because you don't deserve to love and be loved. And it's not because the universe wants to, withhold love from you. No, it's because your messaging is sending out the only way that the universe can respond. And that's to feed the wall, to feed the story, and to feed that emotion that you have that's connected to, I'll never do that again. So this is, again, we're really being called to task here. If you're one of the people saying that you never want to love again, number one, put it in the chat. That's me. That's me. I've said that. I've had that. And start right there by recognizing where you are. Such an important thing. These new stories that we want to create can only be built where you are willing to surrender what was, accept where you are now, and then allow love to show something different to you. And that's really the magic formula: to surrender, accept where you are, and then turn towards, you might say, turn towards the sun, just like a flower does, or a tree. It turns towards the light, towards the sun. It doesn't hide under a bush. It knows what it needs in order to bloom and to grow and to get what it needs so that it can be everything that it came here to be and experience being in its greatest version. We're here to love because that's what we are.
That's right. That's right. And if you want to go deeper into that, your journey of self-healing and reconnecting with the love that's inside you, I recommend you go and check out Marcy's program. She has a program called Self-Love for True Love, and I'm going to post it down in the chat so you can go check it out. Do you want to mention something about that, Marcy?
Yeah, it's an incredible sequence of modules where I'm literally taking you from where you are to where you want to be. That happens through, again, surrendering, letting go of what has been preventing you from experiencing love the way you want and need to. And you're raising your vibrational frequency every step along the way. And so in these modules, you have videos, you have PDFs, you have audios to listen to, you have prayers, you have rituals, everything that I could think of to support you in this process is in that product. And number one, it brings you to a deeper level of understanding. What does it mean to truly love myself? And what I have found, and as I said, all those that I've worked with, and it's been such a privilege for me, is to just watch as, women unfold and realize that they are these divine, sacred women. And of course, there's a whole different list of criteria about how you will be in the world and how you will represent yourself. And what used to be difficult choices will no longer be difficult choices. You'll know in a minute, in the blink of an eye, whether to stay on the path that you're going on or to pivot and find that sun. Mm-hmm. So this is so important. And this is the journey of self love. It's actually stepping into recognizing yourself as this divine feminine being and your royalty. You are the queens of the world. Yeah. It's the one place where these, fairy tales, right, that we were raised on did get something right. You're meant to be the queen. And so we step up, we make certain that that's what we create in our lives, and then you have it all. Literally, it lays itself at your feet. That's the most amazing thing. So you're going to love this program. As I said, it takes you step by step, inch by inch, heart shift by heart shift, and right where you need to go. Yeah. So jump in, take a look, and I will meet you on the other side of that. You're going to absolutely love it.
Yep, for sure. You can check out the link in the chat. So, let's see here. You are the chosen one says, I deserve to give and receive love. That's right.
That's right.
Absolutely. It's a great affirmation. Um, says, I'm eager for connection with a masculine man who truly loves me.
Yes.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
And
Mm.
he's eager to connect with a woman who is a divine being who knows herself and knows why she's here and knows what she deserves and takes no cheap substitutes
Mm-hmm.
because that's what he's looking for.
Yep. 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 And so, let's see. Heather says, yes, it is so hard to trust again when being hurt and heartbroken so badly. Yeah, it is. That's a great point, Heather. And I'm glad you brought that out because it's um, this whole thing that we have going on here, right? The reason that we do these talks and conversations and that we're kind of on this mission to help people heal and let go and move on and reconnect and actually love somebody again is that this isn't just like something to do or we're kind of bored or whatever, right? This is a spiritual mission,
That's
right?
right.
And it's part of your soul's development, right? I don't know what you believe, but I believe that we're here to grow and to, most people have hardships, have real pain, have, horrible things that happen in their lives that they have to get over if they're going to really live free and fully, right? And I believe that part of our mission on this earth is to do that, right? Like we aren't just here just to be here. We're here to grow, right? We're here to let go of the things that are hurting us. And it's very difficult for us to grow if we aren't hurt, right? If we don't have obstacles in our way, right? Well, life would be so easy, right? Everything would be easy. And it's like that's not what easy isn't what makes us grow, right? It's the challenges that we face in our life. It's the times when we've been hurt and then we look and we're like, yeah, well, I still want love. I still want this connection, this divine connection with another human being where we're, we're connected in God's light and we become one together and and saying, hey, you know what, I'm not going to let what has happened to me or what I've been through in my life and many people, not to take away any of that from whatever you've experienced, because I know there's a lot of people that have experienced some really bad things and really challenging things in their life. When I was in college, there was this guy, and I was in this Romanian language class. I was taking this Romanian. It was like one of those courses that you take just to like take a course or whatever. And there was this guy who was a social activist that was in the class, and the topic came up about like being hurt, right? Because he was a champion for a lot of people who had been hurt and victimized, right? And I mean, I was like, that's cool. You know what I mean? That's really cool. But what he said about it was kind of this thing where he was kind of implying that you could never kind of move past it, or you could never let go of it. And I was like, well, of course you can, right? Like, of course you can let go of it, right? Like, it doesn't matter what's happened. Like, there's people that have been through crazy things in the world. The last time we talked, we were talking about Viktor Frankl, who had been in the concentration camps,
Right.
right? And how he found his purpose and made it through and created a meaning and motivation, even in a place where death was almost certain to him, right? And if he can do that, all of us can do that, right?
Right.
And it's not easy, right? Maybe you've gone through something that's really, really difficult, right? There's lots of people that have, and it can feel like, it just doesn't make any sense to do any of that. And you just want to die or whatever, right? But it's possible to find a silver lining. It's possible to move through that. And in my opinion, that's what part of this life is about. Life is about growing. Life is about giving. Life is about, it's about going through the tough times, breaking through it, getting the valuable lessons and learning about it, and then coming through and giving that gift, that the gift of what you learned as a result of going through that, to help other people that are also going through that, right? That's what Marcy and I are doing right now,
Right.
is we've gone through our own challenges, and here we are helping you go through yours, and showing you that there is more, right? um and so yeah, it can definitely be hard to trust again, and being hurt, especially when you've been badly hurt.
And I just want to add one thing to that. That was great, Matt. And that is, this is your responsibility. I'm sure you've heard the old adage, hurt people hurt people. So when you've been hurt, you're carrying that energy of hurt. It has to be projected outwards to somebody else. You will find a target. And depending on how much of that hurt is being activated within you, being fed within you, will determine how strong that force is. But we are energy beings. When I meet somebody who is projecting that kind of energy, trust me when I tell you, I back up immediately. I'm not there trying to engage with them. I'm not there trying to dissuade them, convince them to be something else or do something else. I honestly don't want anything to do with that energy because it doesn't align with mine. So when I'm connecting with somebody, I'm connecting from that place in my heart where I know who I am. I am love. And I want to love and be loved because that's my true nature. That's what true love is. True love is that exchange, giving and receiving, giving and receiving, giving and receiving. It has nothing to do with manipulation. It has nothing to do with, trying to take on the responsibility of the healing of the other person. And it's why we must do our own healing. We must dive into it like you're diving into your favorite thing to eat. You have to dive in knowing that it's there to comfort you, that it's there to soothe you, for your enjoyment. But when you dive in headfirst into your own issues, you also come out on the other side of them, not being spit out and kicked to the curb, but standing tall, standing straight, strong. You know who you are. And that's the difference, because now when your true love comes into your energy field, they're going to recognize you right away. They're going to be able to say, there she is. Look at her, all confident, standing strong, knowing who she is. And most importantly, knowing that she's love and how to give and receive love. there are there are none of us who want to give love without it having a place to land. And it's why so many people feel so lonely and so disconnected and so love challenged, because you have tried to give love in a place where it cannot land safely. And again, we have to go back to the title of our gathering today. Love didn't hurt you. Someone who doesn't know how to love, or someone not willing to love, did the hurting. So we start to build these muscles within ourselves so that we can now attract to us the person who is looking for us. And that is true. The person that you're looking for is looking for you. But if you're wearing a disguise, if you're wearing a mask, if you have this wall up and your energy is all behind it, you cannot be found. And that's when you find yourself in these circumstances where love is not found. And then what happens is you try your own distortions. You try to convince yourself in the relationship that you're in, oh, this is love. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. You know, those relationships are built on other things, whether it's a trauma bond, whether it's has some level of dysfunction that's feeding you, or codependency. Those are different types of relationships that are often misunderstood and misconstrued so that you are led to believe, oh, that must be what love is. No, it isn't. And you owe it to yourself to find out what love really is. And that happens in your own journey of loving yourself. Once you start on that journey, you will need no outside definition of what love is, because love will show up for you. You won't have to coerce it. You won't have to manipulate it. You won't have to convince it. It will show up for you. It will be there in the way that will perfectly mesh with your own heart, because that's what true love is. Doesn't mean you're not going to have arguments or challenges or any of that. Life happens, but you're there in that committed relationship because love is real, because love is being exchanged. And the whole question about trust does not come in anymore, because in your self-love journey, you are learning how to trust yourself so that you won't put yourself in positions like that anymore, where you're willing to accept crumbs and say, oh, this is love, where you're willing to accept abuse or neglect or dismissal and say, oh, this is love. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. So anytime that you have experienced any of those things, it was not love that hurt you. It was you who hurt you, because you were buying into a distortion of love, and you found the person to prove it to you. Mm-hmm. That's the evidence that you need. And frankly, I hope it's all the evidence that you need, and that you won't need anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And, it's one of the challenges that happens a lot of times is when people give up on love, um, they end up depriving themselves, right? They're depriving themselves of a need, an emotional need that they have, right? We all need love, right? And so what ends up happening usually is they get to this place where they're so drained that when something comes up that seems like love, even if it's not, they end up jumping on it, right? They push away all the healthy love that's out there, right? And then they find the exciting thing that isn't even actually love, and they jump on it. because that's what they want to feel, and then they end up getting hurt again, and it becomes this big cycle over and over and over again.
That's right.
Um, so Brenda says all these guys in the dating apps are all useless, and she says they're all afraid of commitment. So Brenda, I want to, I'm going to agree with you to a certain extent here, right? Like, here's what a lot of people don't get when it comes to dating apps, and it's kind of a sad reality, but it's a reality, and it's that most people on the dating app are not for you, right? Most of them, the overwhelming majority. Like, let's say that on a dating app, you go on a dating app. Let's just say if you're the average woman, that's, let's be generous and say like 5% of the guys on there are even, capable of having the relationship that you want to have. That means most of the interactions that you have on there are going to lead, are going to be with the wrong guys, right? They're going to be afraid of commitment, right? And then, guys out there, like, the reason that most guys are afraid of commitment is because they've been hurt as well, right? And so they're scared of commitment. They're scared of getting into something because, they don't want to get hurt either. And usually, committing is when they end up getting hurt because they jump on in and then they end up getting hurt, right? And that's okay, right? Because those aren't your guys anyway, right? Those are not your guys. You're not looking for that guy. You're not looking for the guy that is going to hurt you, right? What you're looking for is a guy that's open and that is wants a relationship, is going to be real about that, and then proves that that's what he wants over time with you, right? And that's the best way to date. Absolute best way to date right now, if you want to date online, is to make sure that you're having open and real conversations with these guys. I think we talked about this last time, where
Yeah.
this girl posted this thing where she was like, I've been dating this guy for, I think it said 8 months or something like that, and the other day he asked me, like, why don't you have a boyfriend? Right? And it's like, she never asked, right? Because we just jump into the situation, and maybe at one time, in our culture and the dating landscape, you could just assume that if you were dating somebody, that you guys, it was moving towards something, right? We are not at that time right now, right? There are still cultures that are like that for the most part, right? But even many of those cultures are changing because of the dating apps and Western guys going over to, Eastern countries and stuff like that. You have to have these conversations, right? And a lot of people, they don't want to do it because it's kind of scary, right? What if they say no? What if they say that's not what they're looking for? What if they say whatever, right? But that's not the question you want to ask. The real question you want to ask is, what if I waste years of my life with this person only to find out they were never serious about me from the beginning? you know that's the real question you should ask yourself, right? Because you know that's a situation that I see a lot from women. And so what you want to do is make sure that you're getting yourself into good situations, and I have systems and stuff like that if that's what you're looking for.
And I would add something more, and that is if that person can't have that conversation with you, they're not for you. If that person doesn't know whether or not they're interested in a commitment and you want a commitment, that person's not for you. And again, it's part of the self love journey. It's when we just accept things as they are and we let go of that old programming that we have to prove ourselves worthy of love. And it's when we start contorting ourselves and trying to convince that person, oh, I'll show you. You'll want to commit to me by the time I'm finished with you. No, that person's not for you. So, what happens is when we start to build up the energy of commitment, it means you're now committed to yourself in such a way that you wouldn't even entertain dating a person, even having coffee with a person who's not interested in a commitment. That's true commitment to you. And guess what that then will attract to you? another person who knows what true commitment is,
Hmm.
because energies are always seeking out other energies just like itself.
Yep.
This is how you build a fulfilling world and life filled with your heart's desires actually coming to life.
Hmm. That's right.
You build those muscles in yourself, you build that energy, and the universe does the rest. Literally lays itself at your feet.
Hmm. Yep, for sure.
What kind
Um,
of questions do we have popping up here? I can
well,
only imagine our conversation has been so rich.
so Kasia is asking, what about players, right? And
Mhm.
so, that is a uh, so here's you're talking exactly like what we're kind of speaking into, is this idea of like, there's going to be guys out there, there's going to be guys that are going to fake it, right? They're going to fake it. They're like, hey, I know that women want this, and so I'm just going to fake it, right? And that's why I said, like, in the last thing I talked about, I was like, before you even before you even go out on a date with a guy, there's questions you should ask him, right? You should ask him what he's looking for,
Yep.
right? If you are on a dating app, one of the questions you ask is, what are you looking for? Before you go on a date, before you talk on the phone, before you do anything, just ask him what he's looking for, right? And, you know, there's going to be three answers to that. And two of those answers, which are, I'm not sure. Um, and there's going to be some guys that are like, I'm just looking to have fun and, like, go with the flow, and then we'll, like, see how things go from there, right? It's like, you don't take them seriously, right? You don't take those guys seriously. If a guy tells you that he's not looking for anything serious, you immediately cross him off. But if he says that he's not sure, or even if he says, I'm looking for something serious, you don't take him seriously, right? And that's even if he's genuinely looking for something serious. You don't take him seriously, because just because he's looking for something serious doesn't mean that he's looking for something serious with you. And a lot of guys who are looking for something serious, they feel like it might take a long time for them to actually find what they're looking for. And in the meantime, they are happy to have some fun with people that they aren't taking serious, right? And so you don't take these guys seriously at all, right? They have to prove themselves over time that they are the right guy for you by, showing up, by doing what they say, by, having these real conversations with you. If they're not willing to have real conversations, it's like, yeah, it's, like, yeah, one of the things that I run into a lot with my coaching clients is that sometimes my coaching clients, they're addicted to the fun, right? They're addicted to the excitement, right? They're trying to get that guy that they can't get, right? And it's exciting to them, right? It's fun, it's interesting. It's, he's emotionally unavailable. How do I, mentally weave him into a way of being emotionally available, which is not your, like what Marcy said, that's not your job, right? And it's a bad way of dating. It's an almost certain way of getting your heart broken over and
Right.
over and over again, is by finding guys that are emotionally unavailable, pretending players, all these different things, and then trying to get them to be the right guy for you. It is a losing strategy, and it is a constant strategy that I run into women that are trying to do all the time, right? And so, if a guy sweeps you off your feet from the very beginning, don't take them seriously, right? Don't take any of these guys seriously. None of them deserve to be taken seriously, right? Until they prove it through their words and actions over time. That's how they get to be taken seriously. And so, what do you do with players? You don't take them seriously, right? How do you know they're players? You don't, but usually with players, they're really good at making you feel good, right? They're really good at getting you to, you know, to go, oh well, I'll do it with him. I don't normally do this, but I'll do it with him, right? As soon as you start thinking that thought, run the other way, right? And it's enticing, right? It is literally the cake, right? You're trying to eat the cake, right? You're like, oh, the cake, I'm just going to go for the cake, right? And it spikes your dopamine levels, right? Your chemistry is at a 9 or a 10, right? And the 9 or 10 chemistry, I don't know any woman that has gone for the 9 or 10 chemistry. Well, I take that back. I do know a couple women, but if you have gone for 9 or 10 chemistry in the past and it hasn't worked for you, don't rely on that indicator, right? It's better because you can actually build attraction over time. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever dated a guy and he said something and you lost interest in him? He said something dumb and you were just like, I can't do it with this guy. Like he was really cool. I was really excited about him. And then he said something really stupid, right? And you're just like, I can't do it anymore. Well, the same thing actually applies with good guys that aren't a 10, right? In terms of your chemistry with them, right? If a guy is a 6 or a 7 in terms of chemistry, you can actually build that up over time with the right connection, right? And we used to know that a
Yeah.
lot more, or at least we used to act more on that back in the past before dating apps and online dating became the number one thing, because we were focused that we would have to meet the person, they would have to show us that they're a good person for us, right? And it would take time, we would wait, right? And through all of that you would find out that person's character and you would become more attracted to them or less attracted to them. And now what we're doing is we're swiping and you're immediately like, oh, hot guy, right? And then he's all smooth and stuff, and it's like, just take longer, right? Stay celibate, don't sleep with anybody, right? And making them wait, take your time getting to know each other, become friends first, and a lot of these problems will go away on their own, right? If you just do that, if you tell a player that you just want to be friends first, right, you'll lose it, right? You'll probably not see him again, right? Which for a lot of women is like, oh my God, I won't see him again. And it's like, yeah, because he's a player, right? And he didn't actually want anything real with you, right? That's why it's a good thing that you're never going to see him again. That's great. It's great that you'll never see him again, right? Because he's not the right guy and he's showing you through his words and his actions that he's not the right guy. And that's what you want.
That's right. That's right. And nothing else is good enough. Nothing. And that's what is so important that you start to embrace for yourself. Know that you deserve all the love that is meant to nourish and nurture you, to support you in being the greatest version of yourself. And of course, that then is the entree into you being that and doing that with your partner. Always in exchange, always in the giving and the receiving. There's so much for you to experience when you let go of the walls that you've built up and the stories that you have built up about how love hurt you. You have everything to gain the moment you start to chisel those away. And what that is true love. Don't settle for anything less. But like Matt said also, when you see that there are seeds and potential there, allow yourself to cultivate that love. But you must know what that looks like. You must know what it feels like. When it comes to, and I loved the question about the players, by the way, because again, once you're on this self love journey, there's not a player who will get by you, not one, because you'll feel them energetically and you'll know that they are out of alignment with who you are and what you want and what you deserve. You'll just feel it immediately. And that comes with that commitment that you have to yourself. Always to yourself first, and then to another. Always making certain you are available to yourself first, not afraid to look in those deep shadow parts, not afraid to look in the nooks and crannies, and not afraid to just see yourself for who you are. And no matter what you find, you are still love and you are still deserving of great love. So that presence within yourself is then the presence that you will have to give to another. That commitment, that dedication to yourself is then the dedication and commitment you'll have to give to another. When you start to reach those realms, you will start again, I can't say it enough, to experience love and life in ways that you can't even imagine in this time, because you may still be stuck behind that wall of, oh, love hurt me. That story still playing out, oh, love hurt me. But when you give yourself a chance to make different choices, to say, and Matt and I both say this a lot, what if? What if what they were talking about was true? What if I can really show up differently for love? Will love show up differently for me? You will start to get those answers that you're seeking. Yeah. What a powerful conversation. It's really amazing, when we allow ourselves, and something that you might have noticed about Matt and I, we're not afraid to talk about love, and to talk about love from a place of what is real, what the true heart's desires are. It's open communication. We're not afraid to talk about true love. So
Yep.
start talking about it.
And it's real. It's a
It's
real thing.
That's right.
It's a real thing.
So instead of getting together with your friends and bashing men and putting love down and I'll never trust love again and all that, try talking about what love is. Try talking about what love has for you, what's waiting for you. And don't let anyone squash that. Somebody else starts to put it down. You just say, no, that doesn't belong in this conversation. Watch every Hallmark movie you can get your hands on. Start feeding yourself successful, loving relationships. Number one, it begins with you. Number two, start feeding yourself. You talked earlier about comfort food. Everything that you ingest is food. So it's the stuff you read, the stuff you talk about, it's the stuff you listen to. Let it all be about love. Let those old stories fade away. And now talk about the potential that love has, number one, to heal all things, including that heart, no matter how many times it's been hurt or broken. And number two, that love really is all there is. It's why we keep coming back to learn more and more about it, and to allow ourselves to get softer and softer so we can be more open to giving and receiving it. So don't let anyone rob you of true love. Mm-hmm. And make sure that you're not robbing yourself. Love yourself enough to have true love in your life.
For sure. All right. Well, I need to get going here, so we're gonna
It's a wrap.
shut this down now. But thank you all for being here. I hope you got a lot out of this, and thanks for being open with us, and honest, and commenting, and I hope you. Oh, and by the way, pick up a copy of Marcy's program, Self Love for True Love.
Yep.
It's in the comments. You can go check it out. And yeah, thank you all for being here with us. Hope you have a great night, great evening, great day,
great morning,
wherever you are in the world. And we will speak with you again soon.
Yeah. And we love you. Love is all there is.
That's right.